We are witnessing what could be one of the most important transitions in the history of Pi network. The project that started as a mobile mining experiment has now entered what many consider the final and most critical phase of its mainnet development. With the release of testnet version 20.2, Pi network is not just introducing a technical update, it is signaling a structural transformation in how its blockchain will be secured, validated, and decentralized moving forward. For years, Pi Network has built its identity around accessibility. Unlike traditional cryptocurrencies that required expensive mining equipment or deep technical knowledge, Pi introduced a model that allowed everyday people to participate using their smartphones. Millions joined, security circles were formed, mining sessions became daily habits, a community-driven ecosystem slowly took shape. But accessibility alone does not build a sustainable blockchain. At some point, a network must provide that it can secure its ledger, validate transactions reliability, and operate independently of centralized control. That is exactly where this new testnet phase becomes crucial. The launch of testnet version 20.2 marks the beginning of the deeper decentralization process. This is not just about increasing numbers, it is about fundamentally changing how the network reaches consensus and how trust is established within the system. At the heart of this transformation lies the Stellar Consensus Protocol, commonly referred to as ACP. Instead of relying on traditional proof of work mining like Bitcoin or proof of stake models like many modern blockchains, Pi uses a federated consensus mechanisms. In simple terms, this means nodes form trusted groups based on existing social trust structures, what Pi users know as security circles. Security circles were never just symbolic. From the beginning, they were preparing the foundation for consensus. Now, with testnet version 20.2, that foundation is being actively used to form consensus groups that validate transactions and secure the ledger. This shift represents a major evolution. In early stages, much of Pi's infrastructure was guided centrally by the core team. Now, the responsibility gradually expands outwards to community-operated nodes. One of the biggest changes introduced in this phase is that nodes are no longer restricted to mobile devices. They now operate on laptops and desktop computers. This may seem like a small technical adjustment, but it changes everything in terms of computational stability and network performance. Running nodes on desktop environments increases reliability. It allows for stronger processing capabilities, continuous uptime, and better bandwidth handling. For a blockchain preparing for large-scale transaction volume, these elements are essential. The core team has made it clear that node operators must ensure they are updated and ready to follow new technical instructions. This indicates that the network is entering a stage where operational discipline matters more than ever. Decentralization does not mean chaos. It requires coordination, responsibility, and technical readiness. Now, let's talk about the structure of participation. Pi Network offers three main ways for users to engage with this new node ecosystem. First, the desktop app. This allows pioneers to access their accounts on computers, chart, check balances, and interact with the ecosystem beyond mobile limitations. It bridges convenience with the broader infrastructure. Second, the node. This is where participation becomes more serious. Nodes validate transactions and record them on the blockchain. The active participants in the consensus. Third, the supernode. These are the backbone of the network. Supernodes maintain continuous connectivity, ensure transaction accuracy, distribute updates, and help keep the blockchain synchronized globally. They require strong hardware performance and a stable 24/7 internet connection. Not everyone becomes a node or a supernode automatically. The core team selects participants gradually. The criteria include device performance, internet reliability, contributions to the community, and trust scores derived from security circles. KYC verification is mandatory. This selection process ensures that only reliable, verified participants help shape the testnet's operation. In decentralized systems, trust is not blind. It is structured and measured. The testnet itself is divided into three phases. The first phase is selection. Here, hardware capabilities, bandwidth thresholds, and connectivity stability are evaluated. The goal is to define the minimum and optimal requirements for nodes. The second phase is revision. During this stage, load testing takes place. Transactions are simulated at various volumes. Stress tests push the system to its limit. The data collected is used to refine the consensus algorithm repeatedly. This iterative improvement process is essential. No blockchain becomes scalable overnight. It evolves through testing and correction. The third is live testnet. In this stage, active nodes process real transactions. This provides real-world performance data and reveals how the network behaves under practical conditions. Security, continuity, and scalability are monitored closely. This gradual rollout strategy reflects something important about Pi's philosophy. It does not rush toward decentralization recklessly. Instead, it adopts a step-by-step model. Each layer is tested before moving to the next. Why does this matter? Because many blockchain projects collapse not due to lack of ambition, but due to premature scaling. A network that expands too quickly without stable consensus risks downtime, attacks, or fragmentation. By stabilizing testnet version 20.2 before Pi Day 2026, the core team is signaling long-term vision. They are not simply chasing hype cycles, they are building infrastructures. Another crucial point is accessibility. Even though nodes now operate on desktops, the participation process remains open to everyday pioneers. The platform emphasizes that any pioneer can apply to become a node through the interface and install the blockchain component. This keeps decentralization inclusive. It prevents the network from being controlled by small technical elite. At the same time, performance-based selection ensures stability. There is a delicate balance here. Too much openness can reduce security. Too much restriction can undermine decentralization. Pi's approach attempts to walk between these extremes. Now, let's examine the broader implications. If this testnet succeeds, Pi Network will demonstrate that a mobile-first crypto project can transition into a structurally decentralized blockchain. That alone would be a significant milestone in the Web3 space. Web3 is built on the idea that power should shift from centralized platforms to distributed communities. But distribution must be functional. It must handle transactions at scale. It must maintain security without central intervention. Testnet version 20.2 is essentially a rehearsal for the future. The integration of Stellar consensus protocol through aggregated security circles offers an interesting hybrid model. It combines trust with cryptographic validation. In theory, this could create a more human-centered decentralization structure compared to purely capital-based staking systems. However, theory must meet reality. That is why live testing is so important. Performance data will determine whether this consensus model can scale globally. There are also economic implications. A more stable and decentralized infrastructure increases confidence among developers. Developers build applications where networks are secure and reliable. If Pi's testnet proves strong, we may see growth in decentralized apps within the ecosystem. Community confidence also matters. Millions of pioneers have mined Pi for years, waiting for tangible ecosystem growth. Seeing nodes expansion and structural upgrades reassures them that development is ongoing. But it is important to stay realistic. Testnet is not mainnet completion. It is preparation. It is refinement. It is structural strengthening before full-scale operation. Decentralization is not a single event. It is a process. And Pi Network is clearly entering a more mature phase of that process. The emphasis on desktop nodes, structured selection, iterative testing, and consensus refinement indicates movement away from experimental status and toward infrastructural solidarity. The next year leading to Pi Day 2026 could be decisive. Stabilization version 20.2 means ensuring uptime reliability, eliminating consensus vulnerabilities, and proving scalability under pressure. If successful, Pi will not just be known as the mobile mining coin, it will be recognized as a functioning decentralization blockchain supported by a global node community. And perhaps the most interesting aspect of this transition is psychological. Early adopters joined for accessibility. Now they are being invited to participate in infrastructure. The network is evolving from user participation to operational participation. That is a powerful shift. So Pi Network's entry into the final stage of mainnet development through testnet version 20.2 represents more than a software update. It marks a transformation in governance structure, consensus mechanisms, and community responsibility. By integrating Stellar Consensus Protocol with security circles, expanding nodes to desktops, implementing phased testing, and enforcing structured selection criteria, Pi is attempting to build a stable bridge from centralized coordination to distributed validation. The success of this phase will depend on technical stability, community engagement, and careful execution. But one thing is clear, Pi Network is no longer standing still. It is actively building the foundations for what it hopes will be a truly decentralized future. And whether you are a pioneer, a developer, or simply observing the crypto space, this is a stage worth watching closely because this is where vision meets infrastructure, and infrastructure determines the future.